Oof. Okay, this is going to be interesting. This is the final stream of my tier list for every Silent Hill character that I can think of, which is 412 from all throughout the franchise, including spin-offs, comics, you name it. And this is going to be a very weird episode because today we only have left Ascension and the movies. And what's going to be extra weird is that I feel like I'll be saying some nicer things about Ascension, and I might be a little meaner towards the Silent Hill movie, the first one, and I can't help it. I don't want to turn the stream into a video essay on why I actually enjoyed Ascension, because that's not the point, but it might bleed through a little. And it's going to be a little interesting. Um, to recap, we've done Silent Hill 1, 2, 3, 4, Origins, Homecoming, Downpour, Shattered Memories, PT, uh, the remake of Silent Hill 2. We also done Short Message, Book of Memories, the arcade, um, even the ARG that was done to promote Silent Hill 2 remake. We also done the comics, all of them, which are Dying Inside, Among the Damned, Painted Black, um, The Grinning Man, Dead Slash Alive, Hunger, Sinner's Reward, and Past Life and Anne's Story. Oh, also the Orphan games, though most of them weren't very memorable. And this is all that's left. Ascension, Silent Hill 2006, and Revelation. And since I figured that what you're most interested about is um, the movies, I'm going to do Ascension first, so the latter half of the video isn't just skipped. Although I guess you can skip forwards if you don't really don't care that much. Um, okay, I Ascension covers most of these, but a lot of these are cameos, and of course, being cameos, they are not very memorable, but there's some interesting ones around here. And I figure like there's some cool stuff I could mention about them. Given that, I mean, I know you didn't watch Ascension. Don't lie to me. Okay, so I'm a little nervous because kind of talking nice about Ascension is kind of painting a target on yourself, but I'm doing it. Okay, so let's start. Rachel Hernandez. Rachel is a bad person, and I think no one disagrees on that. She's a bad person. She was the manager at a steel mill in Hobbs Junction, and during the operations of the steel mill, because they needed to sell it and turn a profit, she locked the workers to force overtime, to make the profits actually look decent. And because of that, there was an accident inside the mill, and that killed pretty much everyone except her husband's best friend, and a few other people. And Rachel and her husband pinned the entire blame of the accident on her husband's best friend, who had already a very troubled life. So Rachel is morally very terrible. But here's the thing: we've been waiting ever since, you know, since Homecoming made Joshua's death an accident, and since Downpour decided that Murphy should be sympathetic. I feel like we finally got with Rachel a protagonist who is an actual bad person, and that you can feel kind of bad for the things they're going through, but also think they deserve it. And I wanted to give her props for that. I'm kind of disappointed that um, she doesn't get much nuance from the fandom. At least the few people that actually made up um, had a how do you call it, had a presence in the fandom and interacted with Ascension. I've seen so much hate for Rachel that she deserves, but I think that's kind of the success of the character. She also she genuinely loves her family, but since she's not a good person, she doesn't really show that care. She comes across as very self-centered, even when she is trying not to be. She's very manipulative. Through Ascensions, we did make her less less self-centered. We kind of made her a bit of a better person to at least recognize her mistakes. And I'm including myself because I participated on it. Um, what? Ah, I think also her acting wasn't bad. I don't think I don't think she did. She had a bad performance at all. I think Rachel is a low A tier for me, and we were starting off spicy because this is already a hot take. That's going to be awkward to explain later. But yeah, I think Rachel completely achieves what the character's purpose is. She is the bad protagonist, as in bad person, that we've wanted to explore in the franchise. And personally, I'm a bit, I don't know, disappointed or confused that most people didn't really want to see that when we finally got it. That's that's just how it is. Next up is her husband, Eric Hernandez. Eric, uh, he worked at a steel mill. He's kind of submissive. He doesn't really want to fight anyone. He's emotional. Um, he really loves his family, even though Rachel doesn't treat him very well. Has a sad backstory, a bit exploitative, but um, definitely miles better than Sanchez from Downpour. when he was a kid, he's an illegal immigrant, and he passed the border with his mother through through and with less than ideal people, and his mother pretty much didn't survive the trip. She ended up being used for presumably for organ harvesting. All it said is that she was tortured, and Eric was allowed to start his new life. And you can tell that he really feels very strongly about parenthood because of his mother's sacrifice. But he's also not really a good person either. Like I mentioned with Rachel, he also helped gaslight his best friend into thinking that he was the sole cause of the accident, and pretty much did no effort to ease that pain. Also, when towards the halfway point of the story, Eric kind of starts feeling loved by the cult, and that brings up a bad side of him. He even goes to Rachel and says that he had to convince her to have a daughter, and that's pretty much his low point morally. But he does get better again eventually. He's not a bad person, but he's not great either. But he also works a lot as the audience's pet, kinda. It is very easy to sympathize with him. I don't think he's a bad character at all. I think he's explored very well. Uh, a good performance too. Um, I don't know. I think he's an A-tier character. I don't think he's bad at all. I really appreciate his inclusion, especially since it's an archetype that isn't really portrayed much throughout media in general. And when it is, it's for comic relief. So I appreciate how Eric is portrayed and what he brings to the franchise. Here is Toby Cirelli. Toby is the Eric's best friend, um, and honestly, he's so pathetic. Not in a way that disgusting pathetic. It's just sad pathetic. He's he had a bad childhood. His sister is a drug addict. He's an alcoholic and presumably does drugs sometimes too. Uh, then the accident happens and everything is pinned on him. Um, then the whole town hates him because since it's a small town, pretty much everyone who died had relatives in the town that now are mourning him. No one wants to be around Toby, and of course he's also kind of self-destructive. He really doesn't really want to acknowledge or at least play into the blame that people are assigning him, which I guess he shouldn't have to when we know what he that he wasn't really at fault. His role is he's only in like the first 6 episodes, but his shadow kind of looms around the characters of Eric mainly. Um, and Toby is also very vengeful. His sister dies during a ritual with the cult, so he's very vengeful and acts irrationally. Um, Tries to attack the cult, doesn't turn out well. He gets exposed to the other world very early on, and eventually he kind of tries to play that he's going to join the cult, but actually wants to destroy it from within. But then the cult actually convinces him that he has to kill himself to actually end the other world's hold on Hobbs Junction. Um, it's very tragic. He didn't deserve getting manipulated to that point. Also, he has a very good appearance and the second to last episode. It's kind of an illusion, but it's a good scene. And I feel like he's so specifically made for people to sympathize with him. It's hard to give him a low grade, but I feel for him. Um, I'm going to consider him A tier, but probably would when rearranging things, it's probably going to go a bit higher up within the tier. Also, mention Eric originally doesn't see the other world. Rachel and Toby do, but Eric is originally innocent in a way that he can't see the other world or monsters. But once Toby dies and Eric finds out that it was kinda his fault, that's when he starts seeing the other world. And I found that a very fun idea. It was a it was an early arc of the show, but kind of a very memorable one for me. Astrid Johansson, she's an S tier character. Right away, I'm going to say that. Astrid deserves S tier. Uh, she starts off as a cold clinical type, kind of a skeptic about the things that she's seeing. And at first, it's very stereotypical. We, she's also kind of cold towards her family, even though we know that she's the trope of hurt inside, but um, cold outside. But as we go through the show, we start to see that she's actually like that, not because she's taught herself not to feel emotions or anything. It's because she's actively suppressing any ang- angry impulse she feels because she's afraid that um, the violence in the family is hereditary, just like her mother and her sister. And that comes up again when her son also has it. Uh, Also doesn't help that she's also very much ostracized from the town because of her mother, who was a horrible person. Um, and also, when she starts seeing, the delusions, the visions, and she starts dropping they're not real, her train of thought is that they might not be real, but what if they have a point? What if the things that I am seeing are trying to say something about me, something real. And I think that was a very fun avenue to explore regarding a Silent Hill character. She feels like she's almost in control of herself, but she still lets that doubt in that way. Also, she is either a lesbian or bisexual. She ends up dating the ex uh, Detective Hogan when the two grow closer during their investigation, and their chemistry is really good. I am proud to say that I was one of the first shippers in the viewer base before it became a full blown thing. I really like Astrid. I really do. Uh, she might, too early to say, but she might be my favorite character in Ascension, and that was way before um, uh, she she started dating the other um, Detective Hogan. So don't dare to say that it's because of that. Here we have Carl Johansson. This is Astrid's father. He's also kind of a submissive guy, very peaceful, calm, a little grumpy, but he's been pretty much he's pretty much been abused by his wife his whole life. The problem is that he also became an enabler. He essentially did nothing to protect his daughters from his abusive wife, and that did have a very bad impact in on them. They couldn't trust him either. But in the show itself, he kills his wife, and that already is he no he kills his wife, but kind of does it through the other world, so he doesn't know that he killed her. Not even that he doesn't remember; he straight up doesn't know. Um, that already is kind of a James Sunderland knockoff. But what I find interesting is that when it was done with James, or maybe Travis in Origins, it was a solitary affair. It was something that only mattered to the character and the person they killed. However, with Carl, we get the chance to explore what happens when there's an entire family built on that couple and the ripples that emerge when he has to deal with both the blame, the guilt, and the coping and grief of the other family members, which is something we didn't get with James. So I think that alone makes the inclusion of that plot point worth it because it was a new exploration of something. It wasn't a carbon copy of it. Another thing is that Carl, a big plot point in the early episodes is that there's this girl, Eva, who shows up at the farm and kind of wants Carl to be a father figure to her because her mother hates her. And and it's kind of a believable uh, surrogate father situation. They have a good dynamic. And then comes the reveal that she was indeed his daughter, but she died years ago. And Carl, who has been seeing her since before the show even started, That was a good reveal, and it says a lot about his mental state. Silent Hill hadn't even begun to take root in Stillydalen when Carl was already seeing things. And that's clearly all the years of mental abuse that he went through. There is an arc that knocks him down a little, and it's when he starts getting closer to his wife, to his sister-in-law. And Carlman, I know you wanted to something a better person than your wife, but she was terrible too, man. I guess he just had awful taste. He should have picked better. And also, he's one of the characters in Ascension that survives. It's a very complicated decision. I can see why he thought that was the right thing. Essentially, after getting shot by one of the townspeople who thought that he was attacking a memorial for the victims of his daughter's killing spree, he was taken for dead, and his best friend kind of tells him that he should leave town while people think that he's dead. And he isn't sure because Astrid and his other daughter are there still dealing with things. But he leaves convinced that maybe if he isn't around, uh, they will finally be able to move on. And I kind of get him. I get that motivation, but also that wasn't the move. Um, I'm gonna give him a high B. I almost touching on A, but mm, also his performance was good. God, I'm gonna look so bad with putting so many Ascension characters in A to S tier. People are gonna kill me for this. Next up is Britt Johansson. Uh, this was the character we protected the most while the series was ongoing. She's an alcoholic drug addict recovering. She struggles to stay sober. She also struggles with how resentful she feels about her family. She almost didn't come to visit them, which in hindsight she probably shouldn't have. I don't know. I don't know why we like Brit so much. I mean, now that I want to describe her, it gets a little difficult for me. But she just has that presence that makes you want to root for her. And it's not that she's a Mary Sue or perfect either. She has very clear flaws. Should I put her just in A tier? I can think of exact reasons to give for her, but she just was a good character. She had a well developed arc, well developed motivations, a good performance, um, decently. She was pretty decent, morally speaking. She kind of got so much shit thrown at her through her through her life, and then still came up somewhat okay. We gave her a good ending that kind of looked like an Evangelion reference, and I kind of have to admire that. I guess she's going in A tier just because I can't quite explain why she should be S tier, even though I kind of wanted to put her there. I guess I'll see if I move her later. Eva Johansson. Eva was the oldest of the Johansson sisters, and her mother's abuse messed her up pretty bad. She was very violent, aggressive, um, I guess kind of sociopathic. I'm not sure that term quite applies, but I guess you have the idea. You can tell that she just wanted to be loved, but never got to develop those emotions. So she kind of just wants to just can't quite feel it anymore. The worst thing she did, she killed a bunch of people. She stole Carl's hunting weapons and carried out a mass shooting in her town where she killed her sister's friends too. Um, so talking about the real Eva, she was terrible in a way that you also kind of felt bad for her. But the Eva we see in the show is kind of an illusion that only Carl, her father, can see, and he clearly doesn't remember who she was. So this Eva is kind of taunting. She just barely teases him enough to remember how bad her mother was to her. Um, kind of tempt him to to see what happened for not intervening forever. She's definitely not very developed as in have arcs, which is kind of the point since her fate was inevitable. It was always leading to that point, so there wasn't really much room for any redemption or whatsoever. Her final scene, though, she gave us one of the best scenes in the show, which is when Astrid, near the end of the show, uh, is forced by an apparition of her mother to prepare the the family for dinner, I think. Dinner. And she has to get Eva for that. The problem is that Eva is actually buried in the backyard of the house because Astrid and her mom killed her after the mass shooting and buried her in the yard and made it look like she went missing. And that was a really good scene. Fuck, am I going to have another A tier character? Oh fuck, I think I will. Oh my god. People are going to hate me so much for this. I think we can finally break the streak. This is Xavier Cantless. This is the leader of the Hope's Junction cult. Xavier kind of comes across as an understanding, understanding man, but you know, there are at first there are moments every now and then which you kind of distrust him, and well, it's a cult, so since the start you are distrusting him. But he kind of plays it well between you don't know if he's a well-meaning person that is just following some bad teachings, or if he's actively malicious, and I like that. He also has some good scenes, especially towards his death. At one point, he gets lost in the other world, and his mind kind of shuts off and needs to be brought back. But when he gets brought back, he comes back with no hope. The show doesn't say that, but it's pretty obvious. He pretty much doesn't believe they have the means to stop the other world, so he decides that they have to essentially drink the Kool-Aid, all of them. But because he thinks that Rachel is too impure to join, he tries to kill her, and it backfires, and he dies. He gets his finger sliced, stabbed, and then a monster, the Collector, comes for him. Oh, hi. I guess. Um, I still don't think Sayer is anywhere near the others. There are still things I enjoy about his character. I definitely like him more than fucking Troy Abernathy. I guess he'd be a low B tier. Krista, oh, she'd also be kind of low. But this one, she has her fans. I knew people in the fanbase that actually really like her. Um, she's not for me though, definitely not. Uh, she's one of those speak whatever is on her mind types, and she can be quite mean at times. She she does have a bit of a character arc though. She's very aggressive at first, but as things get worse, she kind of gets more mature about things. That was nice of her character writing. Um, I don't like that she wanted to get with Eric. Eric deserved better than you. Sorry. Um, she's also, in general, less interesting than Xavier. I mean, her actions are kind of important, and she does have a well fleshed out arc, but it's kind of hard to really care much for her. Oh, Barbara. Barbara, I like. I don't know how much I like, though. Barbara is one of the secret antagonists of Ascension. She pretty much planned the whole story with her sister Aurora. And Barbara is operating in Hobbs Junction. Uh, she's an elder of the Foundation, but she's also a member of a schism sect that kind of has a more extremist view of the other world. Uh, she pretty much has children tortured psychologically and their parents. She's very manipulative, and she always has this. A smug smile that I can't help but love. She has really good scenes. Um, her whole arc where she's captured in the basement of Rachel's home was entertaining. Um, her death was decent. She isn't much. She isn't very fleshed out as a character though. She's just entertaining. I guess I could put her above Xavier, but I don't think she'd make it into A tier. Ingrid Johansson. This is probably among the worst parents in the series, which has already a lot of competition. Ingrid, at best, was an abusive mother. At worst, she's a murderer, a domestic abuser. Oh, well, I thought there was an earthquake again. Ingrid, besides being awful to her family, she was a very abusive wife to Carl, a very abusive mother to all three of her daughters. Um, and when one of those daughters turned out to be a mass shooter because of how she was raised, Ingrid decided to take it on her own hands, killed her daughter, and buried her in the yard of her house. And she couldn't even do it herself. She had her other daughter bury her. She is by far, I think she might be on par with Dahlia in in the scale of evil mothers. She's just awful, and the show doesn't even try to come up with a, I don't know, a flawed explanation for, oh, but she actually thought that she was raising you well. No, it's just a straight up shows you that she was awful. That said, she also has very good scenes. Um, the dinner scene uh, in the finale was very good, and she kind of carries it. Uh, I like that you can kind of see her apparition in the background of different episodes. Mm. Her character model could have used some work, but that goes for pretty much all of the characters in the show. You can tell that, like with Dahlia's actress, you can tell that her actress is having the time of her life doing this role. I, I'm putting her below Barbara, I think. Oh yeah, I've met like what two people ever since the show ended that actually could talk about the show. It's a close tie between Dahlia and Lisa for me, but I mean those two in general are in a whole different level. Leo, Leo Kant. I love Leo. He he was great. He's going to be an S tier character, completely completely subjective, but I love this guy. He's kind of a secondary character that doesn't really have much role in the narrative, but he has a really soothing presence. He's that old friend of yours that you go to for advice, and at first he comes across like he's just a background character, but then you really learn to buy that these characters have a whole history together, especially with Carl. Um, and I really love the dynamic that Carl and Leo have. He's just a peaceful dude in his 50s, 60s, I think. Um, he doesn't like to get into trouble. He just wants to live his own life. He gives you advice. Oh, and this man, when everything in Steel Dallin goes to shit, this man at first tries to protect the other people in his shelter. But then when that shelter gets breached, he immediately goes to deliver personal assistance to Astrid and Hogan when he didn't have to. And he stays there until the very end of the show. This guy is kind of the MVP of Ascension. I love him. He's like the loyal friend you want to have. Oh, this character is going to be controversial. This is Niels Krombeck. Uh, and they're Silent Hill's first non-binary character. And I love that we know that since the start, Niels was written to be non-binary. And I love that they still went with a masculine presenting model because they could have perfectly not done that. And you don't see mask presenting non-binary representation in media often. Niels is also a very nuanced character. Um, they suffer from chronic pain because of how the injuries they sustained in the mass shooting. So they pretty much have this constant reminder 24/7 of what Eva did to them. And when you think about that, it doesn't justify, but it really kind of helps you understand why they're so aggressive towards Brit and Astrid because they're an asshole. They're generally a terrible friend. They even tried to have Brit killed at one point, thinking it would end the other world. And you kind of feel for them. And that pettiness also comes across very realistically. I like that. Uh, when it was airing, people definitely didn't like Niels at all, but the character completely worked for me. I really liked Niels. I liked her arc, and then they end up having a good send off, sort of a redemption arc. Um, I guess just because of that relatability, I have to put them above Carl. I guess I just really like this character. Um, Aurora. So this is a social worker in Stille Dalen that's kind of investigating Astrid because people are concerned that given the family's history of domestic abuse, that maybe she might be abusing Orson. But as it turns out, Aurora is actually Barbara's sister. This Barbara. And she's been manipulating Astrid the entire show to make Orson vulnerable and get him more in, in touch with the family history. Now, I think when it was aired, we already knew that a character we knew was going to turn out to be an antagonist. And we pretty much everyone guessed Barbara. The surprise was that in the same episode, Aurora also came out as an antagonist, and in a very cool scene. Also, I like her demeanor a lot more. While Barbara is very kind of happy about torture and everything, Aurora kind of has a more somber attitude about it. Kind of like she doesn't really feel the enjoyment that she should get from it. Uh, I'm gonna put her next to her sister. I don't know which one I like more. I like Barbara's smug attitude, but I like Aurora's reveal um, and personality more. Okay, Faith Hernandez. Um, okay, this is something very funny, but there was a scene in one of the very early episodes where people memed it a lot of because they said that Faith was being very obviously voice acted by a grown adult, and then it turned out that he was an actual kid voice actor all along. And I don't know why, but that was very funny to me. Um, I definitely care about Faith more than Orson. Faith's arc is that she's pretty much been learning from Rachel all the manipulative, abusive tendencies that she has, so that ultimately becomes her power to control monsters from the other world. I like that we can see how Rachel's parenting is not affecting her positively. Also, I find the child model isn't that bad for her. I mean, definitely better than Charlie's. I thought her voice acting was decent for a kid. She has a few good scenes, but the writing isn't that great. I think they could have done more. Hmm. I guess she's a C tier. Who the fuck is this? Oh, this is Joy Cirelli. This is Toby's sister who dies at the start of the show. We know that she and Toby were orphans, presumably. So she grew up on drugs, alcohol, and then when she was very desperate, she asked the Foundation for help, and their help ended up getting her killed. And we know that's pretty much what the real Joy was like. Now, through the show, Toby starts having visions of a supposedly ghost Joy, but from context clues we can tell that it's just his own mind trying to justify his plans by trying to imagine that it's Joy asking him to do things. And that Joy is very taunting, uh, kind of cruel. I like your presence though. I don't think she's very. She has a couple good scenes. Oh, she appears near the final episode too. Yeah, near the final episode, an apparition of her confronts Rachel about killing her, and I still don't know what to make of that reveal because it's not made clear if it's Rachel kind of punishing herself or if it's what actually happened. But Joy says that Rachel, when she tried to do the ritual, turned out she didn't know what to do. So because Joy wasn't getting any better, she decided to kill her and blame the ritual for it. Which it's not like Carl's case where we didn't see it happen. With Joy, we did see it and Tangler kill her. So I guess it's a lot more up to interpretation what really happened there. Um, I guess she's a C tier because I do like her presence. Um, and she pretty much doesn't appear past episode 6 when Toby dies until like the final episode. So it's not like she's overstaying her welcome. She's a bit weird though. Not any less weird is Nora Jackson. This is a weird character. She shows up out of nowhere halfway through the show with a backstory that is very obviously a mix of Silent Hill 1 and 2. She says she got a letter from her dead brother calling her to Hobbs Junction, but when she arrived, she crashed her car and she had to stumble through the forest to get into the town. And at first, it all seems very derivative, but then the show takes it in a different way, and it does get interesting, but it kind of stays as a subplot. But I kind of like that she kind of just drives herself into the plot and makes it everyone else's problem. She acts as sort of an antagonist for Rachel and Eric because she turns out to be very involved with the steel mill accident and kind of forces them to reveal things that they wouldn't have revealed otherwise. She's a very intense woman. She can be kind, but with people that she feels are hiding things from her, she doesn't hold back. She's probably the most normal person in Ascension. Actually, she might be the only normal person in Ascension. Yeah, everyone here is fucked up. She's she's the only normal person in Ascension. Oh no, Leo is normal too. Uh, I enjoy her. Do I enjoy her more than? Yeah, I do. But is she? I guess she's not complex or interesting enough on her own to be above these ones. So I'm going to put her above Aurora and Barbara here. Yeah, I love Nora. Just a fun thing is that according to the casting call, Nora was planned to be an FBI agent that was called into town to investigate things. And that's why Nora's arc is a lot of about revealing secrets and investigation. But I like that they just made her a normal, regular person that's just very intense and kind of demands everyone to just answer to her. I kind of like her more this way. Orson, probably my least favorite of the secondary characters. Orson is Astrid's son. He's very quiet, potentially autistic. Um, and he seems to have inherited the violent tendencies of the family. At first, it's just like retaliatory things, like biting a kid at school. But then, as Aurora gets involved and he starts getting more violent, more aggressive, attacking Astrid, Hogan. Uh, the thing is that we don't really get to see much of him being himself. And I guess that's just because he's that quiet. But I also don't find his corruption arc of sorts to be as interesting as Fate's. Because at least Fate's is like very intense. I guess just a bit here. Porque Mete. Okay, so while Orson is my least favorite because I don't really care much about him, Mete is my least favorite because she sucks. So this is Ingrid, Ingrid's sister, Ingrid, and she comes to Stille after her sister died because she wants to take her spot with Carl. That's her entire purpose for coming to town. But as it turns out, because people in town are starting to get shifted to the other world, there's a labor shortage at the hospital, and she's a registered nurse, so she takes the spot. And then patients start dying. And yeah, it's her. She's killing the patients that are shifted to the other world because she thinks that she's putting them out of their misery. And Carl freaks out when he finds out, but she wants to be with him. This is Mete's involvement is very much like a soap opera, and I guess that I think that is what they're going for. But I really don't like her. Um, I think she's the worst acted character in the show, which says something because I've been giving praise to the performances of the other actors. She's just very deadpan, very monotone. I don't know if it's intentional, uh, but I don't like her as a person. I don't enjoy her arc, her involvement, and pretty much nothing she does has much relevance to the plot. So she's going in tier. Detective Hogan However, goes all the way up because I love her. Since the very first episodes, Hogan gave me a strong, very strong Shattered Memory Sybil vibes. And since she started giving me those vibes, I loved her. Her daughter was one of the victims of the mass shooting. Now she's a very grudgy police detective. She used to be a psychologist. Uh, she might, she's technically a secondary character, but she is pretty much part of the main cast by the second half of the show. At one point, she gets disbarred from the police force because she was allegedly seeing things. Then it turns out that they were right because she was seeing her daughter. He was seeing a monster as her daughter. I like her performance. I like her character design. I like how aggressive she gets with Carl. And she was right. But best actor in Ascension. Hmm. I'd say that at first glance, you wouldn't get that vibe that it's good acting, but I think it's Carl. I think that most of his acting choices make a lot more sense when you know the backstory and the extent of his character. So I think that the actor is the one that got his character the most. And it's weird because when you're first watching it, I know that he gives off the impression that he's kind of just not doing anything, his performance, but then it makes a lot of sense. Oh yeah, I should put this. Uh, oh no, love Leo too much. I can I have to put him between them. Sorry to the lesbians. I love Leo. All right, this guy, the most confusing guy in Ascension. This is Zane Zane Davis. I forgot his last name because no one says his name in the show. This is Zane Davis. No one knows what he is or what his purpose is, but he knows things. And through the show, he starts remembering things. Uh, he apparently is confined to a library somewhere in the other world, but he can sometimes appear in the two towns. And he doesn't know what his purpose is. He doesn't seem to have any memories, but he seems to have powers of some sort. And and he's very much tormented by them. He doesn't want those powers or that knowledge. Main theory is that he's the spirit of the Foundation's founder, or at least an avatar of him that doesn't have self awareness. I really like him. He appears very sporadically through the show. Um, he seems to have visions of the events of the show and reproduces them in dioramas. And apparently, the collector's objective, the main antagonist's objective, is to find him in the library. But we don't know if it's to free him or to kill him. I want to put him in S tier because of the intrigue, I guess I should put him below because we don't know much about him. But the intrigue is the point of the character, and it isn't a character that you kind of guess that they were just throwing shit at the wall. He really comes across as there is something very big written out for him. We're just left up to guess it. Also, apparently, his actor is nice. I've seen him a bit. The collector himself. At first, I nicknamed this guy the Bishop because of his design, but his name is the Collector. At first, I didn't like him. I thought that his design was too much like a Dead by Daylight killer, but it ended up growing on me. So the thing about the Collector is that he's very likely an emissary of the Foundation's god, or that code of beliefs in general. He's, I mean, I guess I can say it. I have to, I think the Collector is Valtiel, or at least an interpretation of Valtiel through another religion's uh, theology. He has a seal of Metatron in his belt. I really like the cape that he has. His arms are like disjointed. His face made of fingers. I ended up really liking that. It almost makes them look like a crown. But also his fingers interlinked together. And when he opens them, there's light under them. Also, much like Valtiel, he doesn't kill. He doesn't kill a single character in Ascension. But when someone is killed, he comes to collect their finger and makes a key with them. I think the Collector is great. I really like the realization that he wasn't there to kill anybody. I ended up really liking the design. It grew on me over time. Um, and because his appearances are kind of sporadic, you don't really get a sense of predictability about him. I mean, you know that he's going to appear when someone dies, but you don't get to see him outside of that, or you don't know what he will do when if somebody encounters him. So yeah, I think this guy is an incarnation of Valtiel, and as Valtiel, he has to be cool. All right, this is another of the minor antagonists, well, side antagonists. This is the other breed. So, well, Astrid has visions of her mother, and Toby has visions of Joy. Um, Rachel has visions of Faith at one point. Brit's visions are of herself, the part of her that wants to give in to the addictions. Um, Addictions, alcohol, self harm. Um, she's not very subtle. Uh, the other Brit is probably the least subtle part of the show. But she does have some good scenes. And this is pretty much the side of Brit that has clung to revenge, that can't get over what Eva did to the family because she still blames Eva and not really Ingrid. And the other Brit pretty much ends up convincing her to try to kill Astrid to end the other world. Doesn't really work. Uh, Also, temporarily, Brit is kind of possessed by the other Brit to do things like steal medicine from Nils. So I don't think it's going for the multiple personality angle. I don't think that's what they're going for. I just think they were going for a very literal representation, and which I guess knocks it points down. I guess I like her less than Joy, who is a very similar character in both purpose and presentation. Uh, Paul Radcliffe. So we don't obviously we don't know much about him, but I liked the idea that the foundation is a schism of the very, very, very early Silent Hill cult, from even way before the Dahlia era. The idea is that different people started studying the phenomenon over at Silent Hill, and one of them was Paul Radcliffe, who started having dreams about the other world and started making his own belief system based on them, thinking of himself as a prophet. Um, the thing is that eventually, after he had started making his sect, he realized that in his dreams he couldn't tell the difference between the god, the demon, and himself. So there was a chance that he had been misinterpreting those dreams all along, and that there was the entire belief system was flawed. But he figured that the revelation in that dream was so difficult to understand for himself that he locked it away and carried on with the cult. I think that's the most interesting part about Paul's backstory. The rest we know is that he was pretty much a philosopher and prophet. Not a very good philosopher, I might add. Um, I feel bad putting him over Orson. I'm going to put him below. Hold on, let me. All right. We're moving on to the cameos now. And yeah, AI bots. Typical. All right. Moving on to the cameos, and these are going to be a bit funny. You probably heard of a few of these. Um, a lot of these are going to be in don't care about them because they're just there to flesh out the world of the towns. For example, this bartender, I don't really care about him, but um, by the way, I only picked some with speaking roles because if I didn't, then it would be very bloated. All right. This is the lab technician that talks to Astrid when she gets a call about Orson biting a kid at school. And this guy comes into the lab and pretty much tells her to um, be harsh with him. And I was kind of expecting him to say something like, "My mom just spanked me and I turned out fine." This guy is kind of funny. Uh, I'm going to put him in D. So this is the guy that says, "A withering here." This is supposedly one of the Foundation elders. He's an asshole to Rachel, like the other elder. He has an iconic line, so he can't be low. See there, which is not the case for the other Foundation elder, who is also an asshole to Astrid. I mean to Rachel, but doesn't have any iconic lines. She gets really mad when Rachel proposes the very vague idea that maybe the Foundation doesn't know everything about the other world yet, that there's more to study, and she gets mad about it. E. This one, this redhead woman, is an ex Foundation member who talks to Toby and tells him that the Foundation is planning a ritual soon and that he should do something about it. Um, I mean, she didn't really do much, I guess. I mean, kind of nice to have other ex Foundation people in the show, but Toby was planning to do something about the ritual eventually, anyways, so didn't really matter. This is one of the detectives. I don't care about this one because he doesn't have a cool name like the other. Uh, but this one just shows up when Hogan is interrogating Carl about Ingrid's death. He just comes in and says that the coroner ruled in uh, natural death, and so they had to let him go. Not much of a purpose. Alright, this character is weird. I've said that so many times. This one is the first person that you see in the other world in the show, and apparently she has been there for a while, maybe a couple of days. So when Astrid shifts to the other world, um, after a fight with Brit on the phone, she finds this woman carrying a bat, and it's kind of implied that the woman has been there for a while, and she kind of gives Astrid the bat because she has seen the monsters, and pretty much tells her not to trust anything. So the thing is that I have no clue what she was doing in the other world, and I guess it was a memorable moment for a cameo. I guess you can go and see it here, but no, you're not in. Oh no, yeah, I thought that was Barbara. No, yeah, she can be here. This is a townsperson. This woman, when Astrid is in the other world for the first time, she finds Orson a few steps away, and she realizes that Orson is a Johansen, so she calls child protective services to lock Astrid away because she doesn't trust the Johansens with with children, which I guess it's an overstep, and I don't trust this woman either. But also that family kind of had a history with that, so um, kind of had a point. She was very mean though. This is the first store clerk that we see in Hobbs Junction. This one kind of taunts Toby when he breaks a bottle because he got startled by an apparition of joy. And this woman just tells him that he has to pay it. And Toby starts claiming that it's not his fault. So she threatens to call the police. Um, to some accusations of the mill accident. And then she tells him that if he really wants to make amends and turn a new leaf, then he should just start acknowledging his mistake and apologizing. Um, Toby doesn't like this Hulk and leaves. I guess she's a did here. I kind of like her, her small back and forth with him. This is another bartender. This one sees Toby uh, sketching the entangler in the bar after he saw it in the other world, and she just kind of judges him for it, and doesn't even stay to listen to him when he says that he's planning his testimony against the foundation. Um, it was kind of funny, Didier. Uh, this guy definitely don't care, but there's a scene where Krista is gossiping about Rachel to another foundation member, and he just kind of just agrees with everything she says, but says to be careful because Xavier will hear them, and Krista doesn't give a shit about it. So yeah, nothing special. The drug dealer. This weirdo is Joy and Toby's drug dealer. Um, Rachel tries to ask him for information to find Toby, and this guy is so awkward, like awkward, and he asks her for a bit of blood since she has seen the other world. He wants a bit of her blood because he thinks it'll shield him from the other world. And Rachel gives it to him, and he just thanks her, takes her to Toby, and leaves. And you know what? He's a weirdo, a pitier weirdo. I liked him. Okay. This is the most misunderstood character in all of Ascension. So, this is who you know as the Jam Man. There was a scene in an episode about Carl and Eva going to the woods and finding a weird man And the man is just like, I'm foraging for berries. I, I make jams. I sell them in town. I could bring you some. And people found him so absurdly weird that they memed him to hell. And and of yeah, he was a weird guy in his first appearance, talking about making jams. Um, and then Carl sends him away, and he just turns around like nothing happened and says, "Okay, I'll be on my way then." Eh, but people memed that scene to hell that they never noticed that the guy appears in the next episode. And guess what? It turns out that the whole berry jam thing was a was an excuse, and that he was actually in the farm to place a hex on Carl, and Carl shoots him point blank, and Eva finds the hex bones on the ground. and, and this, yeah, he's the guy that Carl shoots in the farm when he puts the runes. So he was never there in the farm to make jams. He was just wanted to cast a hex on him. And I love that people love him so much as the jam man that they never realized that he appeared as a very minor antagonist in the next episode. I love it. I love it so much. I mean, you kind of see him for uh, a, a few takes, but oh, he also says, um, uh, you took the heart from you took the heart from our town. And he says something like that to Carl, and I find it very funny that uh, his first appearance was so iconic that no one noticed that he had a second one that was more important to the plot. Uh, okay. This is the second store Claire in Hobbs Junction. She doesn't matter. She taunts Toby a bit about him drinking again, and Toby just tells her to fuck off. These two guys, I love them. After Toby buys a beer at the store, he goes outside and finds these two guys who apparently have seen a monster, and they are so overacted that it almost looks fake that they're supposed to be injured, but they are. And one of them looks at Toby and sees him as a fighter monster, and the other guy, the guy in black, is holding a wood plank, and he just Silent Hill tues him on the head several times until he's on the floor. And I love it because that whole sequence is literally Silent Hill 2 gameplay. Like just Toby isn't barely fighting, and he just gets stone locked with a wooden plank. I love it. I have to they're on the same um, level as the Jam Man for me. This other bartender doesn't matter. Sadly, I don't even remember what his line is, but it's something about Toby having to pay for an extra drink. The pastor from Ingrid's funeral. He looks like a nice guy. He was kind to Astrid when pretty much no one is to the Johansons. Sit here. He kinda stood out to me because he was nice. This is another ex-Foundation guy that Rachel meets. This one lost a dog that belonged to his ex-wife or girlfriend, and apparently she died of an illness after the Foundation pretty much convinced her not to seek medical treatment, and he kind of starts planting the seeds of distrust in Rachel about how much she should believe in the Foundation's ability to actually influence anything. So he has a role, an important role at least. But then he sees a snarler dog. He sees it as his dog, and Rachel clearly doesn't. And she tries to warn him that it's not, but he sees it as his dog. So he goes in and gets mauled to death. Yes, he's a city, but I thought it was a fine scene, at least in character focus. I don't know what the hell was up with the dog, but that was whatever. They just needed someone to tell Rachel to not trust the Foundation. Hold on, I need to zoom in because I don't know who the fuck this is. Oh, okay. Um, so when Eric goes to make a toast in Toby's honor at the bar, this woman just celebrates that Toby's dead because her cousin died in the accident. And Eric just looks at her and then away from her in the saddest face I've seen him do. I mean, I guess she's up with the rude bartender that was mean to Toby earlier. Yeah. Okay. These are the paramedics. So eventually, because Orson disappeared at the funeral, and Astrid is spending too much time outside in the cold searching for him, Carl calls the hospital to intervene and take Astrid away for at least for an evaluation. And they come here and kind of don't really care about Astrid. They just do their job and that's it. I don't think they even ask any questions. But I'm sure they're more memorable because the lady has a bird, a blonde bird. Mm-hmm. Let's see what this next one is. Hmm. She talks. I feel like, let's see from context. Okay, okay, I know who this is. This is the leader counselor of Brit's support group. Uh, Brit brings Carl with her to the meeting so they can be open and honest to each other. And this woman is pretty nice during it. Then Carl derails the whole session by hallucinating a monster in the room, but she was nice. These are the acolytes that Rachel and Krista have to lead while Xavier is missing in the other world. They pretty much have no character, really. They just ask about who the leadership will be. This guy, this guy is also known as Albert Wesker. He's a mortician, I think, or at least a forensic that shows up in one scene. He asks Astrid about how many people are dying recently, and leaves her with a body in the room and leaves. And I have to remember him because he's just Albert Wesker. Uh, people recon- People saw him in the live chat, and immediately, as soon as he was on screen, the chat only said Albert Wesker, celebrating his appearance. This is Detective Sandberg. This is Olivia Hogan replacement after she gets disbarred from the police force. He just appears to tell Astrid that Olivia was taken off the case and that she's free. There's no reason to arrest her. Um, I kind of like him, but he's probably the least important of the nicest people. Who could this one be? I feel like I know her. Oh, okay, I got it. So this is one of the townspeople that run Carl and Eva away from the memorial because he dared show up at the memorial for Eva's mass shooting. And she's very insulted by Carl being there at all that she just kind of runs him away. She goes out of her way to get him away because he wasn't even standing near the memorial. He was just walking by, and she just walks up to him and tells him to leave. I guess did here because it was an important scene. Also, that scene was the first moment we realized that Eva might have not been real, because that was the moment we noticed that Carl was the only character in the show that ever acknowledged Eva's presence, and this woman didn't. So that was that. This is a foundation elder, supposedly, that kind of judges Rachel in a tribunal at the foundation. He, I mean, he just kind of asks what the charges are, um, asks for evidence and testimony. Probably ETR almost don't care, but uh, this one is a preacher, a door-to-door, what you call evangelist. He shows up after Rachel quits the foundation, and he just shows up at her door and wants to tell her about the wonderful teachings of the foundation. and he refuses to move from the door. And Rachel is kind of telling him that she doesn't want anything to do with it. And there's a monster coming up behind him, and Rachel just shuts the door on him and lets him get killed outside. It's a very weird scene. Also, we got to see the alternative scene from for that sequence. If we had chosen to do the prayer with him instead of shutting the door on him, Rachel grabbed his hands and closed her eyes. And when she opened them, um, the guy was a fighter, the monster fighter, and she just panicked and went back inside. So, so the guy wasn't ever meant to be real after all. I mean, you could kind of tell from the context because he was already acting very weird. This is Officer Becken from Steel Italians Police. He shows up after Astrid and Hogan go go meet Hogan's daughter at a park, and it turns out that it was just a monster she had been seeing as her daughter. And of course, they panic, run outside, and Officer Becken shows up to ask what had happened. And Astrid kind of tells the truth that there was a monster. And he doesn't believe them and leaves them both. Um, I like his name though. And also, I like that. I like the scene in general. Just Hogan, who up until that moment had been so rational, just babbling about having seen her daughter alive, and Astrid kinda correcting them, but still sounding crazy. I don't know. I liked it. Also, he looks like a classmate of mine. This 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 woman, Carl, sees Eva rushing to uh, shoot up some monsters near the memorial. Carl shields her, and turns out that the monsters were the people visiting the memorial. And this woman shot Carl in the chest when he wasn't doing anything. And then she says that it was his fault for attending the memorial. She's awful. It's a miracle that Carl didn't die from that. I got the best picture for this guy. This is the doctor that gets his finger bitten by Orson in a way that I still can't figure out how it happened. So when Orson reappears, Astrid takes him to the hospital, and the doctor starts examining him while Astrid is on the phone, and then she hears yelling and sees Orson chomping on the doctor's finger, and I still don't know how the fuck that happened. Perfect scene. A tier. I think this is the this is a nurse at the hospital. This guy is also funny because Astrid, it's very rare that she has hallucinations of what other people are saying, but her hallucination of this nurse is that he tells her to drug Orson up so that he can't fuck things up. I guess it's not as funny as the finger biting, but still. These next two are people in the support group that Brit attends. This one refuses to let Brit in because allegedly one of their members overdosed because Brit told him that he had to um, indulge in the addiction. And Brit is trying to defend herself, but this woman doesn't want to let her in. Uh, I mean, I hate her, but she probably did do that. At least the other Brit did. She's just mean. But I get why you wouldn't want someone around if you thought that they actually caused a vulnerable person to die. This guy instead is the leader of the support group uh, that day, and he at first listens to the other woman, but when Brit is leaving, the guy just goes, follows her, and tells her that she can join the night meeting because no one deserves to suffer in silence. I like this guy. That was so nice of him. This is a nurse at the Steele Gallens Hospital. She's pretty much recognizable instantly for her sick headphones. I literally don't know anything that she does outside of having those sick headphones. Titier. All right, who is this? Okay, so when at this point in the show, things are going down in both towns. Monsters are roaming the streets. The fog, the white fog rolled in, and people are taking shelter. And Eric, Krista, and Faith try to take shelter in a bar, but this guy, the guard at the bar, doesn't want to let them in, even though they have a key, because he recognizes Eric as a foundation member. I actually liked that interaction, even though he's an asshole. And then Nora lets them in anyways. So he wasn't really good at his job. He was just a pushover. What the hell is this? Let me see. Hmm. Oh, okay. So the bar shelter doesn't work out anyways. So Eric, Krista, and Nora go to Eric's laundromat, and they find this guy hiding in the storeroom, and he also recognizes Eric as a foundation member, and goes to attack him, and Nora fucking punches him to the ground in one hit, and then he just kind of apologizes in the floor to Nora, and it just goes back to the storeroom with goes back to the storeroom all defeated. Uh, A tier mostly for the punch he took from Nora. This is Witch Hunter. in Stella Allen. Uh, this woman finds Astrid and Brit on the street, and she immediately tries to call the other hunters to come kill them because they figure out that the other world got to the town because of them. She doesn't. She doesn't really succeed. I guess it introduced that plot point, so I guess I could give her C tier. Hmm? The next two are survivors taking shelter in the bar at the Stille Island. This woman is not that remarkable in comparison to the others. She's just mean. This guy instead, this guy is a professional hater. This guy acts as the leader of the survivors in that bar. Uh, he's just so intense for no reason. He's so rude. He insults he insults Astrid, and I think he insults Orson too. Aether, he's just so weird. I kinda like him. He's probably the closest thing you get in Ascension to a grade A hater. Who these are? Ah, okay. Rachel returns from the other world at one point and finds a bunch of people running through the street in Hobbs Junction, and this woman pretty much just tells her that things are fucked and that she really shouldn't hang out with Foundation members like Eric. Not really important. In fact, I didn't even remember her until I made the tier list. Now, while the other guy at the bar was a hater, this guy is actually insane. He comes back, he comes from outside saying that the monsters are coming, and his first instinct is to fucking try to offer Orson as a sacrifice. Fucking weirdo. And he says it with this sweaty forehead and his panicky face. And this other one also helps in that. Uh, but she also tries to attack physically Astrid and Orson until Hogan fucking points a gun at her. These are the remaining acolytes at the Foundation. By that point in the story, the Foundation has all but crumpled. There's only a few members left, and these are the ones that Rachel Rachel was asked by Krista to tell them to accept Krista as a leader, but Rachel tells them instead to go find their own faith, and that turns out for the worst. Um, I mean, they themselves aren't interesting, but the plot point they cause is interesting. See. Oh, um, all right. I also picked a very good screenshot for this one. This is a woman that comes running from the Foundation after Rachel leaves and says that there are monsters uh, running towards the foundation that they follow Rachel. And right after she says this, a fighter comes from behind her and slashes her back open. Ah, I guess it's just a C tier. Mm. All right, so yeah, this is one of the onlookers that witness Faith's powers awakening, and he kind of calls for people to kill Faith, and then he gets immediately killed by some monsters. Yes, uh, I guess just an idiot. I mean, there are plenty more of people in that sequence that get killed, so he's not that special. These two, however, when these are the people that find Brit, and Brit thinks that they're allies, but they just pull a gun on her and try to either kill her or take her to Niels, who will also kill her. Uh, I mean, we saw that betrayal coming. Mm, I guess you see the way they pull the gun is funny though. Here is when a big plot point got introduced. So other people that witnessed Fate's powers, uh, decided to switch their faith towards her instead, and they find Rachel and the group in the street, and they start pledging their alliance towards Faith. Um, and I actually like that plot point, and it starts with these two weirdos. So I guess I do like them. The intruders, a couple of people that break into the Hernandez house and try to capture Faith, and Eric just in cold blood just kills them both after they tell him what they were there for. It was a good sequence. Um, Probably one of the best parts of the episode that I remember. Big moment for Eric too. Actually, I think I like that moment, and I'm gonna knock this one down a bit. Uh, the worshippers. Uh, these are also the people that uh, took what Rachel said at the foundation literally and just went to find a new faith. And these ones are just seen worshipping an otherworld tree in the middle of town. I like it. I wish that we had seen more of that though. Hold, hold on, because we're finishing with Ascension soon. Um, these are also Faith's followers. These ones capture the entire group and take them to the steel mill, uh, and try to make Rachel kill herself for a reason that I don't remember right now. But in the end, Faith just called monsters to invade the steel mill, and presumably these guys don't survive. Um, this scene should be important, and well, it is, but I don't know why it never clicked with me. I'm not sure why, because I don't think it's particularly worse than any other thing I've mentioned. I just, um, I always forget about that scene. Doesn't really matter to me when it's actually a it's actually a pretty important scene because it mixes characters from both Hobbs Junction and Steel Talon. Who are these? These are the last of Faith's followers that appear at the Foundation to try and capture Rachel. Rachel grabs one of them, cuts their fingers, and sends them out as a warning. I guess that was memorable. Not that memorable. I guess it's at City or Cameo. And the final Steel Talon cameos are this group of hunters that appear at the farm to try and kill Orson, and Astrid and Leo confront them outside the farmhouse, uh, and they're all armed. But then Snarlers show up and kill them all. I think not everyone. I think it's supposed to look like at least some survive. But yeah, they are terrible people who wanted to kill a child, and then they get killed by some dogs. Uh, Didier, thanks. I do my best. And the final ones from Ascension are these three. I think it's just three people at this point. They are what's left of the hunters. Lejo gathered them after Hogan and him saved them. And here is where Astrid decides whether to turn Orson to them or not. And they still want him, but they are less aggressive than the first group. And I mean, the scene isn't really focused on them at that point. The choice was about them, but the scene then focused towards Ingrid. So I guess they're even less memorable than the first group. And that's been Silent Hill Ascension. It took me 2 hours, but it's almost over. It's almost over. Um, Silent Hill 2006. Oh my. It's going to be super weird uh, hearing me not feel so passionately about the movie after hearing me ramble for 2 hours about Ascension characters. But okay, I'm giving them a fair try. Rose da Silva. She's definitely high up around here. Uh, I mean, for starters, she loves her daughter. She's relentless. Um, how do you call it? She's determined. Mm, mean, I guess she's at least on par with Jodie. I don't think we got anything about her past in the movie, right? It was not mostly about the present. She cared a lot for Sharon, but I can't help but question the idea of actually taking her to Silent Hill. I think that's the main thing that puts points down for her. She's brave. She does pretty much go into the lion's den at the end of the movie. She she holds she holds up and fight, right? I think she does. She's more emotional than a fighter, though. I guess I put her somewhere around here, around Douglas and Travis. I think if I had more of an attachment to the movie, I could potentially put her up, but right now I'm trying to think of uh, her characteristics, and I can't seem to think higher up from that because in the end she's a very normal woman. She's she doesn't have a particularly troubled life. It all starts with Sharon, and then everything is about a journey to Silent Hill. All right, all right. Sharon in the first movie, I think she's great. I think I think she's. I thought she was a very good actor. I don't know what the consensus on her acting is, but I thought that she was the best actor in the movie. I think she slips very well into the role. I like the costume design too. Uh, and other things. Oh my god, I can't take Dark Alessa out of my mind. I, I'm gonna I'm gonna skip ahead and just if I don't get her away right now, I'll never I won't be able to move on. Uh, Dark Alessa, I don't like her. I don't like her at all. I think the movie could have worked better without her. But okay, on good acting. There was that scene near the start with under the tree at the crossroads. Yeah, I also think a lot about her panic at the church when they're burning Sybil. Just uh, perfect casting. Uh, I thought it was perfect acting as well. Um, hot take. I actually like Christopher da Silva's part in the movie. I'm actually gonna put him right next to his wife. I actually like uh, those segments in the movie. There's an element of investigation in Silent Hill, especially in Silent Hill 1 and 4, that I don't find very much in 2 and 3. And I think that element of investigation, of piecing things together, was translated perfectly to me through the Sean Bean subplot. It gave me that feeling that the Silent Hill games aren't really known for. you don't really think Silent Hill investigation. But I thought it gave me those vibes again. Um, I didn't find it to bother me with the pacing. Plus that one scene where the he feels her perfume, that was really good. And plus, I think I was talking about this with someone the other day, but the futility of his quest, he learns, but he doesn't really get to achieve anything before he's sent away. It's kind of interesting too. Plus, it also helped to um, flesh out the world building of the movie incarnation, which we wouldn't see as much if we just had Rose's side. But including, yeah, I guess no, I don't think his Revelation counterpart knocks him down much. I guess that, well, he kind of loses the accent, but I don't find him particularly bad in Revelation either. Sybil, movie Sybil. I guess, I mean, she's definitely an A. I don't know if it's an S. It's not, the final movie doesn't mention that she's there because she once had to arrest a guy that threw his kid into the Silent Hill mines. That's not in the final movie, right? I'm sure I read it in the script, but I think that's not in it. Either case, very competent, very reliable sidekick. Her sacrifice in the elevator, I, I don't think it was needed. But okay, she held her own in a fight. Uh, Define words in the ladder, pretty good. Her death, gnarly. Um, yeah, I think she's an A tier. But what A tier? I guess she's hmm, yeah, I guess she's still in order. I guess I like her slightly less than Rose and Christopher. Oh, Thomas Gucci from the movie. Um, I like this guy. I mean, talented actor. The burned hands, that flashback about that kind of, kind of see how he's the way he is. I like how he tags along the surly personality. Um, I'm curious though. I'm still very curious as to why uh, about the creative uh, vision behind making Thomas Kochi and not adapting Michael Kaufman, because I feel like that could have been a very good role for him. That makes me very curious. But still, I like um, Gochi in the movie. I like his performance. I like his personality, how he plays off Christopher, uh, the kind of cynicism. You can tell that he's not a bad person inside. Oh my god. Oh, Dahlia. Hmm, Dahlia. She's a she's a good character in the movie, but it's very hard for me to separate uh, her character in the movie. And you know how we are. We never let this go. The Harry behave like a woman thing. We can't let that go. Um, so it's very hard for me to see Dahlia in the movie with be such a completely different character when he said that making Harry different change his character, they couldn't do that. So why did they do it to Dahlia? It's it's something that I can't wrap my head around. Um, so that definitely knocks her down a bit, but Dahlia herself, I mean, great performance. Makeup, costume, what else? Strong motivations too. And she had that good scene at the end. Do you know where they repeat the phrase that they used through the movie? A mother is caught in the eyes of a child. I guess, beat here. It kind of feels odd to have her next to fucking Nora Jackson, but I, it's so hard for me to know how I feel about Dahlia. This one, I know. The problem with Alessa in the movie is that they cannot don't let us hear from her. We see that she looks pleased with the revenge, but we don't really see or hear or learn how she really feels. We just hear this focus dark Alessa thing. Um, they should have explored Alessa herself more. Oh, I guess. Uh, I mean, we know her past, but we know her past, her pain, but let us hear from her. Let us know about her. We don't need Dark Alessa to tell us. Um, she has many names. Cristabella. Alright, this one is easy. She's a hateable monster. I hate her so much, I'm even hesitating to put her in a high tier because I just hate her. But that means she's doing her job, right? And that probably contradicts some placement I put somewhere else, but blah. The Nun. Actually, I don't really remember anything about the Nun, so I don't care. Oh my god. This one is going to be a little harsh, but Colin shouldn't exist. Really. I don't know why the movie needed Colin, the janitor. Why? Why? I don't understand his inclusion. I mean, even his monster design is just a person with tied up limbs. And yeah, it's freaky, but it's still just a man. Um, I don't enjoy Colin. It doesn't make me feel anything but just bummed out. Um, yeah, I don't really like his addition to her backstory. It shouldn't be in this movie. Uh, the woman, Anna's mother, uh, I kind of like her a little. Not much, but kind of makes you think of the dynamics of, the having children now that they can't anymore. Anna, Anna, what a waste of potential. I wish we would have seen more of her too. But she kinda gave it her all in everything that she was in. Another confession. I don't like the skinning scene in the movie. I'm not holding it against Anna though, but yeah, had to mention that. Uh, and this guy, just I, I don't not care. He, he just, I don't know. I can't say fun to look at. That's wild. He's just there, but I like his appearance, I guess. A Red Pyramid. Hmm. Starts the bimbofication of Pyramid Head. Um, brings in creepers that doesn't have. See, that's the thing. Since they cut out the one scene that gave him meaning, it just makes his inclusion in the movie look like sort of nowhere. He's supposed to look. He's supposed to be a guardian because he is. He's doing a terrible job. I don't. Plus, I don't like muscular designs. Uh, I don't like his scene. So I guess I somewhat like the one in the school, but I don't like the one at the church. And then he just disappears from the movie entirely. Yeah, no, I can't put him any higher in good faith. Lisa in the movie. I guess she stays in the same tier as Anna and Alyssa, in that I wish we knew more of her. We get a glimpse and a very good scene, I think. I kind of liked it. The shot of her bleeding eyes, that's all we get. But no, actually, no. Because, yeah, we should know more. I'm so distracted right now, it's almost 2 a.m., but I'm finishing this. Moving on to Silent Hill Revelation. Heather, this is difficult for me because I think the actress is good, the casting is good, and I think that for the most part, her characterization is fine, but she's a little too edgy in a way that doesn't feel genuine. Um, and she feels a little too helpless for her own story, a story that is famously empowering for Heather. I guess she's just a low A because still it's pretty much on point. It's just a little off. Um, I don't think she should be a nice girl. She can still be a little mean, rude, edgy, I guess. The way they do it in like the classroom scene, it just doesn't land for me. Detective Garland in the movie. Oh my god, how do you fumble that? Douglas deserves so much better than that. At least if you're gonna kill him off, at least do it at the point in the story where Harry dies. I guess that could have worked. Maybe, I don't know. Vincent Cooper. Okay, so horrible adaptation aside, thinking of his character, uh, kid who has been sent from Silent Hill, finds love, uh, tries to help. He's nice. He's just a little cringy. Um, what does he achieve in the movie? He gets restrained after the hospital, right? Mm, the first half is just kind of here and there. He doesn't achieve much, actually. Oh, he does do a distraction for the at the amusement park. He's just a nice guy, TM. I guess I can put him next to fucking Troy Abernathy. I mean, he's almost on the same tier, definitely in the same tier as fucking Krista. Claudia Wolf. I don't like this portrayal of Claudia. It is completely wrong, and even as an antagonist, it's just an evil mother. Uh, but it is done with almost no charm. Um, it doesn't have the big performances of like Dahlia or Ingrid even. She's just kind of evil. Do I count the missionary? No, the missionary is not a separate character. Uh, I guess there are some points of her performance that I like, but even then they are so minor. They're so wasted. Um, though I can speak better of Leonard. I think even for the script, Malcolm McDowell does well. Um, I guess this monster form is bad. It's just a big guy. But I don't know, kinda there, almost there. He's there for being experimented on, whatever that means. Definitely not in Dalia's level, I guess. Alright, this is Suki, I think. Um, this was supposed to be the girl that makes fun of Heather in class. That was back when that sequence was meant to take place inside the mall. But then they moved it to Silent Hill, so it didn't make sense to have that girl there. And they made this character. Um, she's just there to add a kill. Um, Nothing particularly interesting. Detective Santini. The detective, poor detective man. He was meant to die in an otherworld shift at a morgue, but then they cut that whole sequence and he just disappears from the movie halfway through. I kinda care about him more than I kinda care about him though. I find him interesting though. I mean, more of the potential of what that sequence could look like. The Mannequin Joe, um, I guess only I do care because the transformation sequence is definitely memorable. Also, Travis, assuming that he went through the same shit as everyone else, he's nice. He gives you a ride. Um, kind of this is Origins movie that will never happen. I guess this is the same point of like Lisa that we never see, but we can kind of infer what will happen about him. Oh my god, I'm so tired, but it's it's 2 hours and 36 minutes. 2 hours of those being just Ascension. Wild. Uh, we have 412 characters from Silent Hill. Um, I was planning to reorganize this, but I don't think I will because I'm so tired. But quick rundown. S tier. Harry Mason, Lisa Garland, Alyssa Gillespie, James Sunderland, Mary Shepard Sunderland, Maria, Angela Orozco, Eddie Dombrowski from the remake, Eddie Dombrowski, Pyramid Head, Walter Sullivan, Mira, James Sunderland from the remake, Mary from the remake, Angela from the remake, Heather Mason, Claudia Wolf, Vincent Nothing, Baltiel, Memory of Alessa, The Aliens, Maya Ago Hindenburg, The Witch of Kettenstadt, Henry Townsend, Eileen Galvin, Frank Sunderland, Joseph Schreiber, Cynthia Velasquez, Richard Braintree, John Walter Sullivan, Harry Mason from Shattered Memories, Cheryl Mason from Shattered Memories, Sybil Bennett from Shattered Memories, Dr. Kaufman from Shattered Memories, Michelle Valdez from Shattered Memories, Dahlia from Shattered Memories, Malcolm from Shattered Memories, James from Shattered Memories. Oh, didn't have to. Ah. Murphy Pendleton, Anne Marie Cunningham, Howard Blackpool, the blood bag from PT, the captain from the arcade, Jebediah Foster, Astrid Johansson, Leo Kent, Olivia Hogan, Saint Davis, the Collector, and Sharon Da Silva. In A tier, Maria from the remake, Talia Gillespie, Dr. Kaufman, uh, oh my god, Jodie Mason, uh, oh my god, I'm tired, it's hard for me to say, Jimmy Stone, Adam Shepard, George Sewell, Frank Coleridge, The Boogeyman, Lisa from PT, Waitley from the comics, Ernest Baldwin, Brookhaven director, Thomas Orozco, Laura from the remake, Douglas Cartland, Rose da Silva, Christopher da Silva, Sybil Bennett from the movie, Christabella from the movie, Thomas Scotchy, Travis Grady, The Missionary, Stanley Coleman, Leonard Wolf, Anita Planert, Jasper Kine, Billy and Miriam Locane, Eric Walsh, Toby Archbold, Peter Walsh, the music neighbor from Silent Hill 4, the detective from Silent Hill 4, Helen Grady, Richard Grady, the butcher, Bill Ortega, Dr. Harris, Deputy Wheeler as Sam Bartlett, Rosie from Hunger, Lisa Garland from Shattered Memories, the Stewarts, Joel Jr., Principal Fisher, Mr. Gordon, DJ Riggs, Homer, Ariane Johnson, the husband from PT, Hannah, Abuelita, Inola, Esther Monroe, Seth Cariston, Rachel Hernandez, Eric Hernandez, Toby Cirelli, Niels Kronbeck, Cole Johansson, Britt Johansson, Eva Johansson, the Berry Forager, the townspeople, um, the preacher, the doctor who got his finger bitten, um, the lead guy from the support group, the guy from the laundromat, the aggressive leader from the Ice Hotel survivors, the intruders, Heather Mason from Revelation, in Whittier, Sybil Bennett, Cheryl Mason, Kay Gordon, Norman Young, Officer Cutty, Lauren the I forgot her last name. Just Lauren from the comics. Laura, J.P. Sater, Amy Baldwin, Joseph Parkin, Jack Davis, the janitor, Brookhaven director from the remake, Felix Crane, Ruby Sinclair, William Slater, the new Brookhaven director, the Happy Birthday Caller, Alex Shepard, Ike Isaacs, Amelie, Anita's brother, Sharon Blake, George Rosten, Steve Garland, Rick Albert, William Gregory, the painter, the family, Mike, the alcoholic, the cop, Kenneth Carter, Samael, Lillian Shepard, Dr. Fitch, L. Holloway, Curtis Ackers, the Founding Fathers, Clayton Doyle, Carol Doyle, Paul Scheibel, Douglas Brenneman, I forget his name, the sheriff from Hunger, the old lady from Hunger with the grapes, Talia Mason, Jackie, Brothers in the Woods, Todd from Choking Game, Kathleen and Mike from the Prom Subplot, Valerie Fisher, Jimmy Capra, Bedrock security employee, the nun from Downpour, John and Mary Cunningham, Sarah Linwood, Helene Leake, Jill Conway, Jack Stanton, the Charons caretaker, Samuel Chester, Emily Anderson, Andy, Jonas Leake, Freddie Gates, Nora Jackson, Aurora, Barbara, Ingrid Johansson, Xavier Countless, a withering here, the drug dealer, Albert Wesker, the hospital nurse man, Faith's followers, Dahlia Gillespie in the movie, Reverend Stone, this girl I still can't remember the name of, Vincent Cooper, Troy Abernathy, Rachel, Joshua Lewis, Angela's mom, Alice Bowie, Toluca Prison Warden. God, who the hell are you? And Jason, the Gazette cultist, Krista Planard, Amelie's brother, Andrew DeSalvo, Jasper's friends, the cat lady, the gamer, Walter's mother and father, Bob, Bones Reynolds, Connie Mills, I forget, Robert Tower, I think, the grinning man, Jessica Aldrich, Dahlia in Origins, Kaufman in Origins, The Manager, Scarlet Fitch, Joshua Shepard, Nora Holloway, Joey Bartlett, Paul Russell Douglas, Paul Ashley, Overlooked Prisoners, Sergeant Nash, Order Leaders, The Deputy, From Hunger, Perkins, Hunger, Uncle Millie, From Hunger, The Vagrant, From Hunger, Dr. Eichmann, Moon, Karen, Vincent, and Emily from Orphan, Clear Picture Wedding Room, Joel Sr., Steve, Patrick Napier, Officer Willis, Prisoner Rick, Warden Stephen Creviston, Bartender Tommy, Finn Conway, um, Frank Anderson, Leonard B. Trent, Krista Lee, Faith Hernandez, Joyce Cirelli, The Other Brit, The Bad Survivor, The Pastor, The Man Looking for His Dog, The Support Group Woman, The Silver Pines Bar Guard, The First Witch Hunter, The Remaining Acolytes, the survivor who gets slashed by a fighter in the back, the witch hunters, Fate's followers in the Foundation, Alyssa in the movie, Anna, Leonard Wolf in the movie, Mark Cunningham, Tina, Eric, Mr. Bryant. Oh, I think this was a bad idea because there's some of these that I don't know who the names are. I guess I should stop now. This is embarrassing. Anyway, I'm giving this a nice look at the D tier. Then at the final tiers. Do you agree or disagree? Let me know. And as for me, I think I finally finished something. Eventually, if I do something like this again, I will likely do. Hold on. This one. It's not as extensive as the other, but there's still plenty of stuff here to do. And I'd be very excited to do it. I hope I picked good representative pictures for each of them. So thank you for dropping by, and I will be seeing you all soon.